You're like, you're, you're family to me, you know?
Let me ask you a question. What do you think is going to happen next in this scene? Is Penguin going to blush and get all charming with Victor and accept him as part of his family? Is Penguin going to snap, go berserk for absolutely no reason and choke him to death? Is Penguin going to remain silent and just stare around with zero emotions as he absorbs the words he's just heard and the scene ends without him saying anything? Now, whatever answer you have in your mind, remember it. We'll come back to this scene in a few. At the time of editing this video, The Penguin Show, created by Lauren LeFranc, is on my top 3 greatest TV shows of all time. And no, this isn't some recency bias because it just ended and I'm all excited and forgot how great these other shows were. No. In storytelling, there's something called a character arc. You've probably heard this a lot in many YouTube essays. It's a word that gets thrown around a lot and I don't really want to get into it. This specific video will explain it better than I ever could have. To the best of my knowledge, there are 3 types of character arcs. A negative character arc is pretty much obvious, occurs when a character in a story descends into negativity through flawed actions and decisions usually influenced by the plot or other characters in the story. My favorite is Uchiha Obito in the iconic anime Naruto, a promising young shinobi who cares about his teammates and loves his village. However, a series of him witnessing traumatic events like watching his childhood crush get killed by his former teammate, staying around Uchiha Madara who corrupts his mind, drives him into becoming a psychopathic killer who later invades the village he once loved and single-handedly starts the greatest shinobi war. I don't know, can be Penguin. Positive character arc. Basically the inverse of a negative character arc where a character redeems himself. Best example I have is Zuko from the Avatar Last Airbender. Yeah, this is definitely not the Penguin. And finally, the anti-arc, which involves a protagonist who, despite all the influences of the story and other characters within the story, they refuse to change who they are. Their actions never change, their thought processes never change. They have no motive or deeper reason as to why they do what they do. They are just the embodiment of what you see is what you get. If you ask me, this is the hardest type of character arc to pull off because it has a tendency of getting real stale real fast in Western media, though anime really does it pretty well. But how Oswald Cobblepot from The Penguin Show was written demonstrates a masterclass in depicting the anti-arc. Oh, by the way, spoiler alert for The Penguin Show and the Batman movie in case you haven't seen either. The first time we see this version of Penguin portrayed by Colin Farrell is in The Batman when Batman raids his club, beats a bunch of goons and is interrogating him the only way Batman knows how.
Where is he? I'm gonna count to 10.
We see him issue empty threats to Batman to try and save his reputation because he was humiliated in front of his own club and wants to save face in whatever way he can. From this interaction, you can tell Penguin will do anything to have the upper hand, including issuing a threat that he is clearly in no position to follow through. The next time they share a screen together is after this insane chase scene and Commissioner Gordon and Batman corner him and he was willing to rat on everyone if it meant saving his own life. To hell with friendships, bonds and any relations he has with anyone. In the movie, with the limited screen time he had, Penguin was a despicable person who always puts himself and his reputation first. The Penguin TV show picks up immediately where the events of the Batman movie ended. City is destroyed, Carmine Falcone is dead, and there is power vacuum in the Gotham City mob scene. Penguin is a low-life nobody who is mostly known as the guy who worked for the Falcones and is scrambling for scraps in Carmine Falcone's vault to secure anything, blackmail evidence of Vitti and other Falcone members, and he was about to steal some jewelry despite him pretty much doing okay, given that he drives a car that looks like this. Enter Alberto Falcone, the presumed next head of the family, and confronts him at gunpoint, but Penguin with his ever-sweet tongue manages to talk himself out of that situation and starts sucking up to him and sharing a few drinks until a slight slip up when he's drunk makes him reveal his true ambitions of him actually wanting to be the head of the table and fill the power vacuum that was left at Gotham. However, Alberto Falcone quickly catches on to it and calls him out, almost mocking him, and in a fit of rage, without even thinking of the consequences, Oswald Cobblepot fires at him and analyzes him on the spot. So now he has a corpse of the most famous crime boss in Gotham in his hands, and his car that clearly stands out in public was last seen in the place Alberto Falcone died. This couldn't get any worse, right? Wrong. Apparently, Gotham being Gotham, his car was already being vandalized by some teenagers and they all see him and make a run for it. But one kid fails to escape and Penguin was almost killing him until he feels sorry for him when he notices that he stutters a lot and decides to take him under his wing and mold him into his apprentice. But first they got to get rid of Alberto Falcone's body. Victor Aguilera becomes his right-hand man, doing everything he does, driving him and even taking care of his own mother who nobody knows is alive. While Penguin uses the information he stole from Alberto Falcone's phone after killing him to start his own mini drug empire and climb the ranks of the Gotham's elite crime families and have a seat at the table. Until this chick shows up, we'll get to her in a minute. By the end of the first episode, we see Victor help Oswald escape a near-death experiences by helping him cover up the Alberto Falcone's murder through framing the Maronis, a rival family to the Falcones. With the blame out of his way, Oswald uses this opportunity to pit two families against each other as he watches them fight by blackmailing the Maronis in prison while he's still working for the Falcones. But Oswald, being Oswald who never plans for anything he does, executes every action with a little to no thought in it, always driven by the constant need to portray himself as a worthy person. Every murder he does is sloppy, like how he stabs witnesses in the Falcone basement who was about to rat on him and was almost caught. Organizes a plan to steal drugs from the Maronis and deliver it to the Falcones. However, the plan was too flawed, so they catch on to him and he gets busted. How he burns to death the Maronis and steals the drug without him thinking of the repercussions of what's going to happen, all because he'll do anything to have a name for himself and send a message. He intimidates his girlfriend by using her as an alibi to cover up on the Falcone murder, but never thought the plan through because turns out his girlfriend was actually his weak link to the wrong people knowing about his mother's location that he so much desperately was trying to protect. Locks his brothers in a vault in the tunnels and they all drown to death because they made him angry and was stealing his mother's attention away from him. Speaking of his mother, she is an old senile woman who is traumatized by events that occurred when she was young. You would almost think that this was his kryptonite, the one thing that will bring Oswald Cobblepot to sanity. Penguin is one needy, desperate and selfish piece of garbage. Ever since he was a kid, he got the shortest end of the stick because everyone made fun of him. He had a limp, he was fat, they were poor, had a single mom and two other siblings. He had this irresistible urge to always spend time with his mom and not sharing her attention with his siblings. Being a kid, he always fancied the mob lifestyle and dreamt of being a member because of the flashiness that came along with it, and kept promising his mom that he will buy her some fancy penthouse apartment. However, this one time he was playing with his brother, playing hide and seek in the tunnels, turned out to be the darkest moment of his life because Oswald ended up locking his two brothers in a vault just because they were making this hide and seek game hard for him, which led to them running in the rain. But you see, here's the darkest part. Oswald had every chance to save them. He could have called the police and say it was an accident and gotten away with it. Hell, he could have told his mom he literally had hours to save them, but he chose to sit down and pretend nothing ever happened until it was too late. This in turn devastated his mother when she learned about the whole situation, to the point of making her order a hit job on her own son. Oswald had one more chance to redeem himself, to atone for his mistakes, admit in front of his mother.
Tell her for her sake! I know what you did to Jack and Betty. I always known.
But his enormous ego wouldn't allow him to do that, and he ended up permanently damaging his mother's health when she had a stroke from all the trauma. Alright, back to Sofia Falcone, daughter of dead crime boss Carmine Falcone. She had as rough and dark an upbringing as Penguin. Oswald's first encounter with the mob life was him being a driver to the Falcones. He was literally an errand boy who never did anything meaningful like hit jobs, but this one time he saw an opportunity to climb up the ranks by snitching to Carmine Falcone about her daughter, doing some digging up on him about some dead strippers in the club, which of course he had everything to do with. I mean, just look at him. This led to Sofia getting arrested since Falcone framed his own daughter for the murders.
Do you think I did these things?
Got tortured at Arkham for years and was nicknamed the Hangman, while Penguin was rewarded by climbing up the ranks of the family and running a club. But in his own words,
But I was just doing my job, looking out for you.
Sofia Falcone got locked up in Arkham Asylum for years, by the way. Penguin also killed his brother and framed it on the Maronis, manipulated her into turning evil and poisoning her family with lethal gas, manipulated her into starting a drug empire, which was just a way of using her as a shield so that the Maronis don't know they were getting backstabbed. Backstabs her when they got confronted by the Maronis so that he can save himself, and turns the whole Gotham's crime family against her. Frames her for everything that happened in the show, which he did, and makes her go back to Arkham Asylum. Yeah, I seriously need to make a video for her because Oswald Cobblepot really did a number on her.
Fuck your mother, you dirty rat! Fuck your mother!
In order to understand how evil Penguin is, you gotta understand who he is. On top of being a cold-blooded psychopath who kills with absolutely no thought of the consequences, apart from backstabbing and ratting out on anyone and everyone in order to save face, apart from lying to his mother in her face about how he killed his brothers, Penguin has to be the most narcissistic garbage I've ever seen portrayed in all of fiction. A narcissist involves someone who suffers a disorder involving a pattern of being self-centered, arrogant, and lack of empathy and consideration of other people. People with narcissistic personality disorders are extremely resistant to changing their behaviors, even when it's causing them problems. Their tendency is to turn the blame on others. They are extremely sensitive and react badly to the slightest criticism. However, in the eyes of a narcissist, they see themselves as the right guy, never on the wrong. They always do the right thing, and the whole world is against them. I'm sure we all know someone like that. This is what the Penguin sees. In the show, Penguin restored power to Gotham. He manages to create an empire from scratch, can take care of his senile mother and protect her from the evils of Gotham by making her live in a secluded mini suburb away from all the drama and makes time to visit her weekly. He's looking out for the lower crime families when he cracks open a cold one with them and gives them the mother of all pep talks. Always spoils his girlfriends by paying her bills, defeats his rival Salvatore Maroni in a fight. In his own words, protects Sofia Falcone by ratting him out to her father. Manages to make something off of himself by living in a good apartment and driving of a car that stands out, and has a one lost and desperate kid in Victor who looks up to him when he saved him from the ghetto sides of Gotham. All the Penguin sees is this good guy with zero flaws. He has a massive ego that cannot fathom the very evil action that he does. According to him, he is the good guy. But check this out. Penguin restoring power to Gotham's ghetto residents came at a cost of torturing and blackmailing a councilman so that he can work up his way to being the mayor like he does in the comics. The drug empire he created from scratch barely holds up because all of them die protecting him and the whole place is blown up. The mom he takes care of is in that situation because of the reckless mob life that he chose and the actions of what he did when he was a kid. The pep talk that he gives to the lower crime families of Gotham was just a way of him shielding himself from the dangers whenever Sofia Falcone and Salvatore Maroni would come for him. He doesn't care about any of this. The girlfriend he thinks he's spoiling by giving her a good life is just a scapegoat and alibi to his bad deeds. Because knowing Penguin, he will throw her under the bus if it meant saving himself. Salvatore Maroni got a heart attack when they were fighting.
I beat you, Sal. You hear me? I beat you.
No, you didn't. You got lucky, you stupid dick.
But I was just doing my job. Looking out for you.
Wrong. He was using Sofia Falcone's as a stepping stone to get into the mob life. And deep down, he knows living a flashy lifestyle by wearing expensive suits and driving a car that stands out is a way of making himself feel more important about his sad and pathetic life and improve his social status, while in reality, it just brings more heat to him. Driving a car that looks like this in Gotham's ghetto is literally begging to be robbed. And him getting Victor under his wing is just him trying to finally being a mentor to someone and look like a good guy because Victor admires him for some weird reason despite everything he does and makes him do. Which finally brings us to the final chapter of this video. Victor Aguilera was the best part of this show in my opinion. I can't believe I'm even saying this, but it was somewhat fun seeing this kid from an innocent stammerer to a cold-blooded killer who did Penguin's bidding. Starting out as his driver after Penguin spared his life, then become the guy who took care of Penguin's mom, then became Penguin's right-hand man in the drug business and helped call the shots. Rescued him on several occasions, like when he was tortured by Sofia Falcone, when he was almost killed by the Maronis, and when he was caught in the bomb blast at the tunnels. This kid put his life on the line when he helped sell his drugs on the streets. At one point, I almost thought that, you know what? Yeah, this is the guy who becomes Penguin's actual weak link. Penguin took Victor to dates, showed him the mob life and made him come out of his shell. You could say Penguin was almost his family because Victor's actual family died in the flooding that happened at the end of the events of the Batman movie. Victor literally watched his girlfriend leave Gotham. He had every chance to leave Oswald and go with her, but he chose to stay. Oswald opened up to him about some of his past and welcomed him to his home. Hell, Victor even brought over his girlfriend to Oswald's place. Victor looked up to Oswald as his father figure, but when it was Oswald's turn to do that, to look at someone else as an equal, as family now that his mother was a vegetable, yeah, I guess you know where I'm going with this. Which brings us to this part.
Family to me.
If you chose A, you were wrong. Penguin is a piece of shit by now, you should know that. If you chose C, you may be right if this was another person maybe. You know, like Deathstroke, Bane, or freaking Ra's al Ghul, I don't know. But if you chose B, well...
Fuck if it don't make you weak, John. And I can't have that no more.
Yeah. At the end of all this, Penguin would rather throw it all away, all the moments he shared with Victor, just because he was too scared to love anyone more than himself. You know what I believe? I believe in the long run, Oswald did love Victor. Oswald did see him as a son and would protect him and mentor him. But when the choice came for deranged, evil and narcissistic piece of shit like him to love someone more than himself, when he realized that protecting and loving someone without any strings attached, without using them as protection from damage, without using him as a scapegoat like he did his girlfriend, without using them as a ladder like he did Sofia, once it dawned to him that Victor Aguilera, the boy he saved and took under his wing, was of no use to him, he did what he does best: do irrational things without having a second thought of the mental and emotional repercussions he'll later experience. And here's the funny part: he stole whatever loose change he had in his wallet, because that's just who Oswald Cobblepot is at the end of the day. An irredeemable, pure evil and narcissistic villain.